Hi, welcome to HRN, Hands Racing Network. I am down here at the New Philadelphia Mall for the Midvale Car Show. I am here with John Chapman. How you doing, John?
Good, how are you? Nice to have you. Thanks for having me on here.
Good. You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is by popular demand the return of the Big John
Little Hand Show.
Scott Archer.
All right, John. I am going to ask you some questions, and you just answer them for me.
Okay.
If you put that microphone up a little bit, go ahead and put your book behind
I brought
you.
my book of any question you can answer me. We'll get through this today. No, this is actually 1989's history book.
Go ahead and pull that microphone up a little
Okay.
bit. There you go, buddy. All right, John. When did the Midvale Speedway car show start, and where was the first show at, and how long has it been going on?
The first show was in Monroe Mall, 1984 to 1988, and then 1989 to present, it was right here at the Newtown Mall. Except for the COVID year, 2020, we could not have a car show. So,
Okay, that's cool. How did you and Craig Mishler come up with Midvid Video? What made you guys start taping the races?
well, Midvid Video was named by legendary announcer Dick Hanchett, short for Midvale Video, and we just took it. It actually started when Craig Mishler bought one of the very first video cameras in this area. They were quite expensive, and when you taped at night, they couldn't tape. It was too dark. So shortly after that, bought a video camera, and we started videotaping together. And there's owner Randy Smart right there. And we start taping together, and we just did odds and ends. And then one day, the legendary Farmer Smith, Hall of Famer, come along and said, I'd like to buy one videotape. And we said, we don't have much. We just have hits and pieces. So Craig and I mixed together a videotape of all his races. And the very first video that was purchased on a weekly basis was Dino Long's mom, where he won the late model feature opening night, 1985. And what really took Midvid Video off was a guy, it's my favorite driver of all time, Bob Sibla, flipped a 62 Budweiser car going into turn 3, and an idea popped up in my head, let's have a crash video. And when we announced we were having it and it was ready to be sold, the people were lined up from our tower all the way down to the concession stand. So it just really took Midvid Video off, and it was 37 years of happiness after that.
That's excellent information. I mean, I learned a lot just sitting here listening to you talk about that, John. How did you like videotaping up at Barberton Speedway, and how did you like videotaping for the main event series, and what started you to start taping the main event races?
Okay, first with Barberton, I really love Barberton, videotaping up there. The drivers, the fans, me, and the owners were all more like family. It wasn't like they're just drivers. I got to know them real well, and it was a blessing. And a lot of them drivers are coming to Midvale Speedway right now. But the main event series started when Chris Talati started it in 1988 in Sandusky, and we were the video crew for Midvale. So through Chris Talati, we were able to go up and tape every single main event from 1988 until 2012. That was our last year taping the main event, but it was great. It was a weekend to have.
I'll tell you what, you guys did a great job, and I was probably one of your biggest employees when it came to them main event races, because I'd always buy a tape because I wasn't able to go to the main event races, and I would buy a tape off of John or Craig, and I still do today with the Midvale races. I purchase their videos.
Right. And you were our best customer back then.
Oh, I probably was, because I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on videotapes.
Right.
All right, John, share some history of Midvale Speedway And what are some of the things that you have gathered from Midvale Speedway, past and present?
Well, my goal is to have a document of every single night Midvale Speedway ever ran. Midvale's original name was Shunbrun Speedway, and then it went to Midvale Sports Park, and eventually it came into Midvale Speedway. My history of session started in 1968, whenever it was my first year there, and that was also the year they had blacktop the track. So it was Midvale was started in 1953 by Gene and Bob Talati and a guy named John Cazell. Now they had many people helping them with the racetrack, like Red Malcolm Incorporated, Mark and Brad's dad, Isaac and Isaac's grandpa. They did a lot of the dozing and bulldozing and construction of the track. And they would do things on a handshake. Everybody who helped Midvale Speedway back in the day was all handshakes. So they said to Gene and Bob, whenever you get the money, you can pay us then. Don't worry about a dime. And they paid it back very quickly because they had huge crowds back then. It was like 4,000 every night. But 1953, they cut it short because the dust was so bad the fans couldn't see. It was so dusty. So let me go through a few more notes. Some of the highlights of Midvale Speedway over the years was the biggest race of that time was the Ohio Invitational, where they had NASCAR drivers come. In 1972, Bobby Allison showed up, finished second to Jim Bickerstaff. 73, same thing. He finished second to Bickerstaff. 74, a guy came along from nobody knew around here in this old beat up 68 Camaro, Lenny Waldo, and he whipped everybody. And I think Allison finished about fifth. Again, Bobby Allison in 1975, Brad Malkwood won. Mark Malkwood was second. And that was the very first year Bobby Allison won a race. It was a race of states, so it wasn't a feature, but he won the race of states. In 76, a guy named Benny Parsons came, and Jim Bickerstaff won again that year. In 1977, David Pearson almost refused to drive Ed Howe's green car because he hated green. And but he ended up winning in 1977. 1978, Cale Yarborough shows up, and he was down a cylinder. He was driving Ed Howe's car also, and Mark Malkwood won, and Cale Yarborough was second. 1979, Bobby Allison returns in his AMC Concorde car, and he finished like fifth. And again, Mark Malkwood won. And so 1980, Neil Bonnet shows up. Now, Neil Bonnet had been there in 1975 when he was just a Grand National driver, and he drove Tony Diano's backup car and did not finish. But he came back in an Ed Howe car in 1980 and just whipped everybody. He lapped almost the whole field. And the 81, it started with the limited late model, and Neil Bonnet returned driving Bobby Allensworth's car. And then 82, Bob Sibba won both legs of the Ohio Invitational, and Neil Bonnet was there. And that was the last time any NASCAR driver showed up.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew that NASCAR drivers showed up to Midvale, but I didn't know it was that intense.
Oh yeah, it was big back then. They had huge crowds every night they came. So. And some of the highlights over the years, Jim Cushman from Columbus. Everybody had Howell race cars at the time, and Jim Cushman from Columbus brought a Chrysler kit car up 1976, July 3rd. He won the Firecracker 150.
Oh, nice,
And
nice.
that was really something different. It was special for the fans, special for me. It's something I can keep forever. Um, and I think we're on the next question.
All right, John. Next question I have is, can you share with the people about the Midvale Speedway Hall of Fame and how do people get nominated into the Midvale Speedway Hall of Fame?
First of all, the Hall of Fame started many years ago when legendary flagman and Chris Cale's grandpa, Eddie Warmack, gave me all his racing newspapers. They used to sell a weekly newspaper, a monthly newspaper back in the 1950s, but in 1959, Eddie Warmack gave me all his racing papers. And shortly after that, legendary announcer Don Wagner, who started all the records in 1960, he gave me all his records, his record books. So that put a flame in me, and from that point on, I just started asking for helmets and gloves and fire suits and trophies and whatever I could get a hold of, fenders, doors, and I've got a pretty good collection now. Just need to have a place to put it.
Yeah, he's even got one of my helmets. I got a sign.
I got Hans' helmet. That's special.
That's a very special moment there. He does definitely have my one of my helmets when I raced, and I got to sign it though, John. We got to get together, and I got to get a white Sharpie and sign that thing for you.
We'll do that in the Big John and Little Hands episode 2.
We can do that. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, John. Well, the next question and the last question.
Okay.
From a former track owner, how can we start lowering the cost of racing to get the fans in the stands, and how was your experience as an owner of Midvale Speedway?
Well, first of all, we'll go into my experience, and that might answer kind of the second question. I purchased the Midvale Speedway in 2018, one of 4 at the time owners. Now that Randy and Kim bought the track, there's only been 5 owners of Midvale Speedway. So I'm so blessed to have been able to own it for 5 years. And it was really tough when we started out. 2018, we had low car counts, and it was just a handful to take on. I'm sure Kim and Randy have found that out also. But one of the biggest things I can be proud of is we built the classes up from like 6 to 12 cars every night to roughly 18 to 24 on any given night. And the compacts were like, they had a dozen, and we built it up to end up about like 45 compacts every night. I love compacts. So the 2020 year was very difficult because we could only open up so many nights because of COVID, and we had so many restrictions. So the drivers all really helped because we were able to practice with X amount of drivers, and they really showed up to practice to help us through that situation because our monthly payment was still coming even though we weren't open. So we got through that, and I'm pretty proud of the 5 years that I owned a racetrack, and God bless Randy and Kim Smart for coming along, and I wish them nothing but success. What was your other part of your question? Oh, the cost of racing?
The cost of racing, yes.
I don't think there's a real answer to that because I know we only made $5 per tire. It's a necessary evil. We supplied them so the drivers could have them. There's only a couple choices of tires. We did some heavy research, and really there was only American Racer and Hoosier. Right. The other tires that were being built were for the NASCAR people. So and the prices were very much the same. So I don't know what the price of tires are going up to, but it's not the owner's fault. It's the economy. I'm sure he's not making any money on the tires. It's very tough to make money at a racetrack, except for the beer barn. And I just pray and hope that the economy gets better and they can do it. There's no real answer, only to not let the drivers outspend themselves, because they will. They're going to spend money to be the best, and you got to keep rules to keep them where they can't outspend themselves. So that's the only advice I can give from my experience. But I had a great role with Midvale Speedway through the videotaping, uh, ownership, the Hall of Fame. I built a lot of model cars, of Midvale cars, and I've been blessed. So,
Well, there it is, folks. If you want to know more about the history of Midvale Speedway, add this man, John Chapman, on the Facebook. And if you have any questions, he'll gladly answer any questions. Don't forget to go to Lucius Graphics and order up any of your favorite drivers' merchandise. He's got t-shirts, the tumblers, the keychain stickers. Also, don't forget to go there and order up your HRN gear, which, yep, correct. And order that up. Well, until next time, when I see you at a racetrack, it will be the best time. You folks have a great day.
Brady Kart rules.